In 1972, MIT researchers, along with a Swiss bank global think tank, came up with what they called a limits to growth model to try and figure out just how far not only would capitalism go, but also when would it fail us? When would it collapse? This may sound like a misrepresentation and an oversimplification of what they were trying to do, which was to test the limits of our economic model. And what they found is nonetheless that no matter how you look at it, we will face something of an ecological and economic global collapse around 2040. When readjusting certain parameters and retested again today, we find that we're ahead of schedule of that 2040 initial goal. It doesn't matter if it's an economic crisis, we also have an ecological crisis. We have issues with global models that showed that we are accelerating our global destruction with our greenhouse gas emissions and our inability to control our consumption. These models show that we're ahead of a 2040 model in terms of an ecological collapse. You look at countries in the EU and you can see that there's somewhat of a rise in right-wing totalitarian thinking and leadership. The same thing happening in India and in other authoritarian or non-secular governments. These autocratic leaders are taking rise and creating political issues on the other side of the globe while also manufacturing mass amounts of pollution, far more than even the United States is putting out. But then you come back over here, we're not so good and glossy because our cultural impact is destroying us over here. Our police brutality, our mass discrimination and blindness to our own issues, as we constantly poke and point out when people have pricks in their eyes before they even acknowledge that they'll have a log in theirs. It irritates me that we have all these facts and information, and it is easier to stick your head in the sand and ignore it than to confront it and actually have a chance to live past it. There are so many people on this planet that refuse to do anything about it or are forced into situations to where they either don't know better or truly can't do anything better. And for them, it's not their fault. But the leaders that are in charge, the leaders who dictate how things go or turn a blind eye when it doesn't go how they want, or they don't care to acknowledge when there's a problem on the rise, they're the ones who perpetuate this in the largest schemes of things, because they're the ones who have the most sway. And those who have the most sway should be held the most accountable. But we don't have that type of thinking in today's modern life. We don't hold those with the most responsibility the most accountable. Here in the States, we do with our doctors, and we even do with some firefighters, but we don't do that with police officers, and we don't do that with politicians. We don't do that with corporate overlords. We don't do that with the mega billionaires who don't give a fuck. We find them, we bring them to court, and they pay what is essentially less than a penny to them, when for us, it's more than our life savings. We won't be able to save everyone at this point. I don't think so. And I hate to be a pessimist on this because I'm wanting to try still so hard to save as much as we can. But if we're going to have a chance of any civilization surviving greatly past 2040, we need people who are willing to come together and make some big changes now. And we need to do what we absolutely can. Because even if we fail to change the planet, maybe we could change this country. If we fail to change this country, maybe we could change ourselves and create a colony for ourselves. I don't know. Either way, no matter what we do, it takes manpower and it takes people willing to work on something together. The way that this is going, the 2100s is going to look like the 1900s. And I don't know about you, but I'm not looking to go backwards, no matter who you are. But we got to be on the same page. We got to set the same equal standard for everyone. If you're willing to jump in and you're willing to help out, please follow, listen more, subscribe. I want to be able to post out a lot of this content that helps us not only reshape our thinking, but gives us efforts and options to help out maybe locally or digitally. We aren't limited. We just have to explore options. Maybe a bad idea can be a good idea if we rethink how we use it. Maybe a good idea will have a shelf life that we don't see, and we'll need to plan for that. But whatever it is, it takes us, not me, not you, us doing it. We got to do it together.